3 months after my ex-wife gave birth to my brother's baby, my mother showed up at my apartment with a diaper bag in one hand and tears in her eyes. She looked like she had aged 10 years since the last time I saw her. Her hair was pulled back too tightly, her coat was wrinkled, and there were dark circles under her eyes. She stood in my hallway like a woman carrying an emergency she expected me to fix. I had just gotten home from work. I still had my boots on. My keys were in my hand. I was tired, hungry, and trying to decide if a frozen burrito counted as dinner if I put it on a plate like a civilized adult. Then I opened the door, and there she was. My mother, Diane Miller, the woman who knew my wife had slept with my brother, the woman who knew my wife's baby might not be mine. The woman who still tried to convince me to stay married, sign the birth certificate, and raise that child like nothing happened. And now she was standing at my apartment door with a diaper bag. That was not a good sign. "Ethan," she said softly. I looked at the bag, then at her. "No." She blinked. "I haven't even said anything yet. You brought a diaper bag to my apartment." "Mom. That's not a conversation. That's a trap with wipes." Her mouth trembled. "Please. I just need 5 minutes. I should have closed the door. I really should have." Therapy had taught me many things, and one of them was that I did not have to attend every emotional circus just because my family bought me a ticket. But curiosity is a terrible thing. So I stepped back and let her in. She walked into my apartment slowly, looking around like she expected to see some sign that I was miserable without the family. Dirty dishes. Empty bottles. A shrine to the life they destroyed. Instead, she saw a clean kitchen, a couch, a half-dead plant I was trying to keep alive out of pure stubbornness, and a framed photo of me and Uncle Paul from a fishing trip where neither of us caught anything. My life was not perfect. But it was mine. That alone seemed to bother her. She sat at my kitchen table. I stayed standing. "What do you want?" I asked. She placed the diaper bag on the chair beside her. "It's about Owen." Owen. That was the baby's name. Claire's son. Ryan's son. Not mine. I had seen one picture of him after he was born. Claire had sent it through her sister Megan. A tiny red-faced baby wrapped in a blue hospital blanket. Innocent. Completely innocent. That was the hard part. I did not hate Owen. I had never hated Owen. I hated the lie my family had tried to build around him before he was even born. My mother wiped her eyes. "Ryan isn't doing well." I almost laughed. Of course that was where she started. Not Owen isn't doing well. Not Claire is overwhelmed. Not I'm sorry for what I did to you. Ryan. Always Ryan. What a shock. I said, "Fatherhood didn't magically turn him into a decent person?" My mother flinched. "Ethan, please don't be cruel." "Mom, if you came here looking for softness, you brought the wrong bag." She took a breath, like she was trying to stay calm. "Ryan is struggling. He wasn't ready for all of this." I stared at her. "Was I ready when you asked me to raise his child?" Her eyes filled again. "That was different." "No. It wasn't. You just liked that version better because I was the one carrying the weight." She looked down at her hands. "Claire is exhausted. Owen has had colic. He cries for hours. Ryan barely comes by. He keeps saying he needs space. He missed 2 doctor appointments. He sends money when he can, but it's not consistent." I said nothing. She continued. "Claire called me last night crying. She said she hadn't slept more than 2 hours at a time in weeks." "That sounds awful," I said. "It is awful. I believe you." My mother looked up quickly, hopeful. Then I added, "But I'm still not sure why you're in my apartment." She pressed her lips together. "Because he needs someone stable." There it was. The word stable. That had been my family's favorite word for me. Stable meant useful. Stable meant predictable. Stable meant Ethan will not fall apart. So let's put more on him. Stable meant Ryan can cause the damage, and Ethan can absorb it because Ethan pays bills on time and doesn't punch walls. My mother leaned forward. "Ethan, I know he isn't yours by blood, but you're the only real father that child could have." For a second, I honestly could not speak. Not because I was shocked. Because I was not shocked. That was the worst part. Somewhere deep down, I had known this was coming. My family had not learned a single thing. They had only changed the shape of the lie. I pulled out the chair across from her and sat down slowly. "So let me understand this," I said. "Ryan makes the baby. Claire carries the baby. Ryan runs away. And somehow I'm still the backup plan?" My mother started crying. "I'm not saying it like that. You never say it like that. That's the gift. You make it sound noble when you're asking me to disappear. I'm asking you to think about an innocent child." "No. You're asking me to clean up after Ryan." Again, she shook her head. "That baby deserves love." "I agree. He deserves a father." "I agree. Then how can you sit there and act like this has nothing to do with you?" I looked at her for a long time. "Because it doesn't." Her face changed like I had slapped her. And maybe, emotionally, I had. She whispered, I did not raise you to be this cold. No, I said. You raised me to be responsible for everyone except myself. That shut her up. For almost 10 seconds, there was only the hum of my refrigerator. Then she reached into the diaper bag. I stood up immediately. What are you doing? She froze. I brought pictures. I don't want them. Ethan. No. You do not get to sit in my apartment and hand me baby photos like emotional evidence. Her mouth opened. I held up a hand. I'm not saying Owen is guilty. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve love. I'm not even saying I don't feel sorry for him. But you are not going to use his face to rewrite what happened. My mother's tears turned sharper then. One day he'll know you could have helped him. I leaned forward. No, one day he'll know his father walked away, and everyone tried to blame the man his father betrayed. She looked at me like she did not recognize me. Good. I was starting to recognize myself. She left 10 minutes later. Still crying. Still holding the diaper bag. Before she stepped into the hallway, she turned back. Your brother is drowning, Ethan. I said, then maybe stop throwing him other people as flotation devices. I closed the door. And for the first time in months, I realized my family was not finished with me. They were just waiting for a new angle. After my divorce, I had worked hard to rebuild something that looked like peace. It was not dramatic. It was not some revenge fantasy where I bought a sports car and started dating a supermodel named Cassandra who owned a vineyard. My life did not come with background music. I went to work. I went to therapy. I learned how to cook chicken without making it taste like drywall. I started sleeping through the night again. Not every night, but enough. I had cut off Ryan completely. My mother was blocked on everything after she called me heartless for refusing to raise Owen. My father, Robert, had come around once and admitted he had failed me, which was probably the most emotionally athletic thing he had ever done. We were not close, but he was the only one in that house who had started using the word wrong without following it with but. Claire and I had no direct contact. That was the healthiest choice. She sent any necessary messages through Megan, her older sister. There were not many. The divorce was final. The legal line was clean. My name was not on Owen's birth certificate. The DNA test had made sure of that. Ryan was legally Owen's father. Emotionally, he was apparently a weather condition. Sometimes present, mostly unreliable, and always something everyone else had to prepare for. I learned that from Uncle Paul. Paul was my father's younger brother and the only person in my family who had the courage to say ugly truths without wrapping them in decorative napkins. 2 days after my mother's diaper bag visit, he called me. Your mother came to see you, didn't she? He asked. I looked at my phone. How did you know? She called me crying afterward. Of course she did. She said you were cruel. I laughed. Did she mention the diaper bag? Paul sighed. She did not lead with that. No, I bet she didn't. He was quiet for a second. Then he said, she's trying to build a new story. I sat down on the couch. What story? The story where Ryan is overwhelmed, Claire is suffering, Owen is innocent, and you are the one person too bitter to step up. I rubbed my eyes. Fantastic. Love being cast as the villain in a sequel I didn't agree to. Paul chuckled once. Then his voice got serious. Listen to me. Your mother is not going to let this go. Not because she thinks you're Owen's father. She knows you're not. She's doing this because if you step in, even a little, then what Ryan did becomes less ugly. I stared at the floor. That was it. That was exactly it. If I became involved, even as a helper, even as the stable male figure, then my family could breathe again. They could say, look, everyone came together. Look, Ethan forgave. Look, maybe Ryan did something terrible, but the family survived. They did not want me to be a father. They wanted me to be a bandage. A few days later, Claire asked to meet. Not through my mother, through Megan. Megan texted me. Claire wants to talk. She says it is not about asking you for anything. She says your mother is spreading things, and you deserve to know. I told her I would only pass the message along. No pressure. I stared at the message for a long time. Meeting Claire felt dangerous. Not because I loved her the same way. I didn't. That version of us was dead. But old pain has muscle memory. Sit across from someone who once knew your morning coffee order and your weak spots, and suddenly the past pulls up a chair. Still, I agreed. We met at a small coffee shop near German Village. Public. Neutral. Bright enough that nobody could mistake it for intimacy. Claire was already there when I arrived. She looked exhausted. Not the dramatic kind of exhausted that people perform when they want sympathy. Real exhaustion. Hair pulled back. No makeup. Shoulders slightly hunched. A stain on her sleeve that looked like baby formula. She stood when she saw me. Hi, she said. Hi. We sat. I wouldn't have blamed you. That was a good answer. She folded both hands around her coffee cup. I heard Diane came to your apartment. She did. Claire closed her eyes. I'm sorry. I studied her face. Did you ask her to? Her eyes opened quickly. No. No, Ethan. I swear I didn't. I believed her. I did not trust her the way I used to. That kind of trust does not grow back like grass after rain. But in that moment, I believed she was telling the truth. She brought a diaper bag, I said. Claire winced. Oh my God. Yeah, very subtle. Claire looked down. I told her not to involve you. That surprised me. You did? She nodded. I told her you owed me nothing. I told her Owen was not your responsibility. She got angry and said I was letting pride hurt my son. I sat back. There it was again. My mother had a gift for making everyone else's boundaries sound like moral failure. Claire swallowed. Ryan isn't showing up. So I heard. He came to the hospital once after Owen was born. Took pictures. Posted one online with some caption about new beginnings. Then he left before the nurse came back with discharge papers. I said nothing. He promised he'd help with appointments. He missed the first one because he had a work thing. The second because he said he was sick. The third because he just didn't answer. I stared at my coffee. Claire's voice cracked. I know I made this bed. I know that. You don't have to tell me. But I need you to know your mother is telling people you abandoned Owen. My jaw tightened. She said that? Claire pulled out her phone. I took screenshots. She slid the phone across the table. The message was from my mother to some relative named Karen. Ethan is still so angry that he refuses to see what this child needs. Owen had no say in how he came into this world. Ethan could be the only real father he ever has. But he's choosing bitterness. I read it twice. Then again. Bitterness. That was what my mother called it when I refused to be used. There was another message. He was married to Claire when Owen was conceived. In my heart, that means he still has a responsibility. I almost laughed. My God, I said. Claire looked ashamed. I'm sorry. I looked at her. For which part? She took the hit. All of it. That was another good answer. She pulled the phone back. I'm not asking you to fix this. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I just thought you deserved to know she's creating a version where you're the reason Owen doesn't have a father. I nodded slowly. Where is Ryan? Claire gave a tired little laugh. That depends who's asking. If it's Diane, he's overwhelmed. If it's me, he's busy. If it's the court, he's unreachable. Has he paid anything? A little. Once. Diane paid more than he did, but she told everyone it came from Ryan. Of course. Ryan's reputation was apparently on family-funded life support. Claire looked at me for a long moment. I know this may not mean much, but I told Diane to stop. I told her you are not Owen's father. I looked away. It did mean something, not enough to repair what she did. Not enough to erase anything. But enough to keep me from hating her in that moment. Thank you, I said. Her eyes filled with tears. I'm trying to do better. I nodded. For Owen's sake, I hope you do. She accepted that too. When I left the coffee shop, I was angry, and the explosives surfs away. It was cleaner than that. More focused. My mother was rewriting the story. Again. And this time, she was using a baby as the pen. The family group chat came back to life the following week. I had muted it months ago, then left it after the divorce. Apparently, my mother decided that boundaries were a technical issue and added me back. The chat name was still Miller Family. I stared at it on my phone like it was a rash. The first message I saw was from Aunt Karen. Ethan, we love you, but your mother is very worried. This situation is bigger than anger now. Then cousin Mark. The baby didn't do anything wrong, man. Then someone named Denise, who only appeared at Thanksgiving and medical fundraisers. Real men step up for children. I almost threw the phone across the room. Real men. That phrase again. Real men forgive. Real men provide. Real men don't cry. Real men raise babies their brothers fathered with their wives, apparently. I stayed silent. Then Ryan joined. Don't bother. Ethan loves being the victim. He's using Owen to punish all of us. I sat very still. There are moments when anger asks you to scream. And then there are moments when anger hands you a folder and says, be precise. I opened my saved screenshots. Ryan's messages to Claire. Ryan refusing to answer calls. Ryan telling my mother he wasn't ready for full-time dad stuff. Ryan telling Claire, Ethan would honestly be better at this than me anyway. He's always wanted to play saint. I posted that one first. The group chat went silent. Then I posted another. Ryan to Claire. Stop pressuring me. You knew this was complicated. Then another. Ryan to my mother, can't Ethan just help for a while? He's better with responsibility. Finally, I typed, I did not abandon Owen. Ryan did. You are all angry because I refused to replace him. Nobody responded for almost a minute. Then Uncle Paul wrote. That about covers it. Aunt Karen replied. Diane? Is this true? My mother did not answer. Ryan did. You're pathetic for posting private stuff. I typed back. You were private when you slept with my wife. You don't get privacy for abandoning your child. That ended the group chat. At least for that day. But like any family problem my mother touched, it did not die, it got organized. 2 weeks later, Uncle Paul called again. Your mother is planning something, he said. I closed my laptop. What now? Owen's baptism. I frowned. I didn't know they were doing one. Claire's family wanted it small. Diane wants everyone there. Of course she does. She's telling people it would mean a lot if you came. I laughed. No. Good answer. But listen. She's also telling people you were invited and probably won't come because you can't let go of anger. I pinched the bridge of my nose. She's setting me up. Yes. If I don't go, I'm heartless. Yes. If I go, she tries to force some emotional moment. Probably. I leaned back in my chair. What would you do? Paul sighed. I'm not you, but if I went, I'd go prepared. I knew what that meant. Folder time. I did not want to go. Every healthy part of me said stay home, turn off the phone, let them perform their little play without me. But the problem with staying silent is that people like my mother treat silence like empty land. They build whatever they want on it. So I went. Not to celebrate. Not to bond. Not to hold Owen. I went because my mother had spent months turning my absence into an accusation, and I was tired of letting her speak for me. The baptism was at a small church on the north side of Columbus. Gray stone building, stained glass windows, the kind of place where people whispered even when nothing holy was happening. I arrived 10 minutes late on purpose. Uncle Paul was waiting near the entrance. He looked at the folder in my hand and nodded once. Good, he said. Nice to see you too. Inside, I saw Claire first. She was standing near the front with Owen in her arms. He wore a white outfit and tiny socks that looked too small to be real. Claire looked nervous. When she saw me, her eyes widened. She mouthed, I'm sorry. I nodded once. Ryan stood near the aisle, checking his phone. His son was being baptized, and Ryan looked like he was waiting for a delayed sandwich. My father was there, stiff and tired. My mother moved around the room greeting relatives like she was hosting a charity gala for her own suffering. When she saw me, her face lit up. That scared me more than if she had looked angry. Ethan, she said, coming toward me with open arms. I stepped back. No. Her smile faltered, but she recovered quickly. I'm so glad you came. I'm sure. People were watching. Of course they were. My mother lowered her voice. This means more than you know. I looked at Owen. He was asleep against Claire's shoulder. No. I said quietly. It doesn't mean what you want it to mean. Her eyes sharpened. Please don't do this today. I wasn't planning to. Were you? She looked away. There it was. The service itself was short. Owen cried when the water touched his head, which honestly seemed like the most reasonable reaction anyone had in that room. Afterward, everyone moved to the church hall for coffee, cookies, and emotional ambushes. I stood near the back with Uncle Paul. Claire kept her distance, which I appreciated. Ryan avoided eye contact, which I expected. My mother waited exactly 18 minutes before making her move. She walked over holding Owen. That alone made my shoulders tense. Claire followed behind her, looking panicked. Diane. Claire said softly. Please don't. My mother ignored her. She stopped in front of me, smiling through tears. Ethan, she said, loud enough for nearby relatives to hear. Would you like to hold him? The room shifted. Not physically. Emotionally. People started watching. Aunt Karen turned her head. Cousin Mark paused mid-cookie. Ryan looked up from his phone. My mother held Owen out slightly. Just enough. Not enough to shove him at me, but enough to make refusal look cruel. It was a brilliant trap. If I took him, she would tell everyone my heart was softening. She would probably cry, take a picture, and start calling it healing before lunch. If I refused, I would look like a monster rejecting an innocent baby in a church hall. I looked at Owen. He was awake now, blinking at the fluorescent lights with the confused seriousness of a tiny old man. Again, innocent, completely innocent. That was why I refused to let my mother use him. I looked back at her. No. Her face crumpled. Ethan. No. I said again. Calm and clear. You don't get to use a baby as a camera prop. The room went silent. My mother's mouth opened. Claire whispered, oh God. Ryan muttered, here we go. I turned my head toward him. Yes, Ryan, here we go. My mother clutched Owen closer. How can you be this heartless? There it was. The line she had been waiting to say. She wanted witnesses. So I gave her witnesses. I placed my folder on the nearest table. Before anyone calls me heartless, let's talk about who actually abandoned this child. My father stepped forward. Ethan, not here. I looked at him. You had months to handle this privately. He stopped. That was important. At least he had learned when to stop. Ryan shoved his phone into his pocket. This is insane. I opened the folder. No. This is documented. My mother's face went pale. I pulled out the first page. This is a message from Ryan to Claire after Owen was born, saying he was not ready to be tied down by a baby schedule. Someone gasped. I pulled out the second page. This is Ryan telling Mom that I would be better at Dad's stuff anyway. Aunt Karen looked at Ryan. Did you say that? Ryan snapped. It was taken out of context. Uncle Paul laughed once. I'd love to know the noble context for that. I pulled out the next page. This is Mom telling Claire not to pressure Ryan because he shuts down under stress. My mother whispered, I was trying to keep peace. I looked at her. You keep calling it peace when you mean silence. Claire stood frozen, tears running down her face. I looked at her. Claire, did I ever promise to be Owen's father? She shook her head. No. Did you ask me to be? No. Did I ever threaten you or Owen? No. Did I tell you I hated him? Her voice broke. No. You said he was innocent. The room was completely still. I turned back to my mother. So why are you telling people I abandoned him? She clutched Owen tighter. I never used that word. I pulled out the screenshot from the family chat. Aunt Karen read it over my shoulder. Her face hardened. Yes, you did, Diane. My mother started crying. Not quiet tears. Big. Public. Wounded tears. The kind she used when facts became inconvenient. I am just trying to make sure this baby has love. I said. No. You are trying to make sure Ryan has less shame. Ryan stepped toward me. Don't talk about me like I'm not here. I looked at him. You act like you're not here every time your son needs you. That hit the room hard. Ryan's face twisted. You don't know what it's like. I almost smiled. You're right. I don't know what it's like to father a child with my brother's wife and then complain that parenting is stressful. Ryan turned red. Uncle Paul stepped beside me, not touching me, just standing there. Ryan saw him and stopped. Good, my mother said, Ethan, please. He needs someone stable. I looked at her and felt something settle inside me. All my life, she had used that word like a compliment. Stable, responsible, strong, dependable, but now I heard what it really meant. Available for sacrifice. No, I said. He needs adults who stop protecting unstable men. My mother stared at me. I continued. I am not Owen's father. I am the man this family betrayed before he was born, and I will not let you use his innocence to erase your guilt. Claire sobbed into her hand. Ryan looked away. My father closed his eyes. My mother whispered. But he could love you. That one hurt. Not because it was manipulative. Though it was. Because maybe it was true. Maybe Owen could have loved me. Maybe if the world had been different, if Ryan had not been Ryan, if Claire had not betrayed me, if my family had not turned my pain into an inconvenience, maybe I could have loved that child. But a possibility is not an obligation. And love built on a lie becomes another kind of prison. I looked at Owen. He had started fussing. Probably because every adult in the room was radiating disaster. He deserves love. I said. But he also deserves truth. And the truth is that his father is standing right there. I pointed at Ryan. Ryan looked like he wanted the floor to open. For once, it did not. My mother said. Ryan isn't ready. I nodded. Then stop asking me to be ready for him. Nobody spoke. Then Claire did. Her voice was quiet, but everyone heard it. Ethan is right. My mother turned on her. Claire. No, Claire said, holding out her arms for Owen. Give me my son. That changed the room more than anything I had said. My mother hesitated. Claire stepped closer. Give him to me. Slowly, my mother handed Owen back. Claire held him against her chest, kissed his head, and looked at the room. I heard Ethan. Ryan heard Ethan. Diane and Robert protected Ryan. Ethan did not abandon Owen. Ethan was never his father. And I won't let anyone use my son to keep punishing the one person in this story who actually told the truth. I did not expect that. Neither did anyone else. Ryan laughed bitterly. Oh, now you're defending him? Claire turned toward Ryan. No. I'm done defending cowards. Ryan's face changed. That was the first time I saw him realize Claire was not going to be his shield either. My father finally spoke. Ryan. Ryan looked at him. My father's voice was low. You need to step up or sign whatever needs to be signed so Claire can stop chasing you. My mother gasped. Robert. He looked at her. No. Diane. Enough. 2 words. Enough. From my father? That was practically a revolution. Ryan looked around the room and realized, maybe for the first time in his life, that nobody was immediately rescuing him. So he did what Ryan always did when consequences got too close. He left. He walked out of his own son's baptism reception without another word. The silence he left behind was heavy, but not surprising. Claire bounced Owen gently, tears still on her face. My mother sat down like her knees had given out. I picked up my folder. Uncle Paul touched my shoulder. You good? I looked at the door Ryan had disappeared through. No, I said. But I'm done. And I meant it. After the baptism, something shifted. Not magically. Families like mine do not heal in one afternoon because somebody gave a speech in a church hall next to a tray of grocery store cookies. But the lie cracked. Aunt Karen called me 2 days later and apologized. Cousin Mark sent a text saying he had believed the wrong version. Denise, the real men step-up expert, never contacted me, which I considered a gift from God. Claire sent one message through Megan. I'm sorry your family tried to make Owen your burden again. I won't ask you to be his father. I should have said that louder from the beginning. I read that message 3 times. Then I replied through Megan, thank you. I hope Owen grows up safe and loved. That was all. It was enough. My father called a week later. He said Ryan had agreed to a formal child support arrangement after Claire threatened court action and Uncle Paul offered to drive him there personally, which I would have paid money to see. My father also said my mother was not speaking to him. I said, that must be peaceful. He sighed. A month later, my mother wrote me a letter. A real letter, because apparently she had discovered that stamps bypass phone blocks. I almost threw it away. Instead, I opened it over the trash can, like a man prepared for disappointment. It was 4 pages. She wrote that she loved me. She wrote that she had made mistakes. She wrote that seeing me refuse to hold Owen had broken her heart. She wrote that she still believed I had a gift for caring and that Owen would benefit from my presence. There it was. Even in an apology, she was still recruiting. I put the letter back in the envelope and wrote across the front. This is not an apology. This is another assignment. Then I mailed it back. Maybe that was petty. I slept fine. Life moved forward in small, unglamorous ways. I kept going to therapy. I got promoted at work, mostly because I could manage million-dollar construction schedules while emotionally dead inside, which apparently looks like leadership. I bought a better couch. I kept the plant alive for 6 more months before it gave up, and honestly, I respected its boundaries. Uncle Paul and I kept fishing badly. My father and I spoke occasionally. Not often. Not deeply, but honestly, which was new for us. Ryan became a father in the legal sense. Whether he became one in any meaningful sense, I do not know. From what I heard, Claire stopped begging him to care and started demanding he comply. That was probably healthier. Owen turned 1. I did not attend the birthday. Claire did not ask me to. My mother apparently cried about it for 2 days. I did not respond. Sometimes people think boundaries are about anger. They are not. Anger is hot. It burns out. It changes shape. Boundaries are colder than anger. They are the fence you build after the fire so people cannot keep walking through the ashes and asking why you are still upset. Do I think about Owen? Yes, more than I admit. Sometimes I wonder what he will be told when he is old enough to ask questions. I hope Claire tells him the truth gently. Not the ugly details. Not at first, but enough that he does not grow up inside the same fog I did. I hope Ryan does better, though hoping Ryan does better has been a family tradition with terrible results. I hope my mother learns the difference between love and control. I hope my father keeps finding his spine. I hope I keep mine. But I know this now. Being good does not mean being available for every burden. Being kind does not mean becoming the solution to a problem you did not create. And loving an innocent child from a distance does not require letting guilty adults use him as a key back into your life. So, Ada for refusing to be a father to my brother's baby after my ex-wife gave birth, even though my mother says I'm the only real father that child could have? Maybe some people will say yes. They will say Owen is innocent. They will say children need love. They will say blood does not make a family. And they are right about all of that. But guilt does not make a father either. Manipulation does not make a family. And an innocent child deserves a life built on truth, not on a betrayed man being pressured to stand where his brother refused to. I did not abandon that child. His father did. My family was just angry because, for the first time in my life, I refused to stand in the empty space Ryan left behind. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.